I'm Dean Newland, and welcome to LEADOVATION. Reimagine, facilitate, flourish. This podcast is dedicated to the art and science of innovative leadership. Through insightful interviews with industry experts, I bring you cutting-edge strategies and experiences of innovative leadership, helping you think differently, act strategically, and achieve remarkable results. Join me as I provide insights and tools that empower you to make smarter decisions, forge meaningful relationships. Welcome to LEADOVATION. At some point in life, almost all of us quietly ask the same question. Why are we here? My guest today, Kris, started asking that question much earlier than most. As a teenager in North Dakota, he built and sold a software company before he was even 18 years old, and by every external measure, he had already made it. But sitting there with the money in the bank, he felt something deeply unsettling, a sense of emptiness, and the question kept coming back, now what? That moment set him on a lifelong exploration into something most entrepreneurs and business leaders rarely talk about openly: the soul, consciousness, and the possibility that life itself might be a kind of learning experience or even a game with rules and turns and purpose. In this fascinating conversation, we explore 4 powerful questions about the soul, why forgetting might be a part of the human experience, and what it means if we are here not just to achieve, but to learn, to experience, and to remember who we really are. If you've ever wondered whether life has a deeper design and what your role in it might be, you're going to really enjoy this conversation. So stay with us, and afterward, share it with someone who's also been asking that same timeless question. Why are we here? Kris, you've had quite the successful entrepreneurial career. You've started businesses, you've scaled them. You've said to me also that you've even taken one public. And you made some money, I'm gathering. You've done pretty well by yourself, but you've also had some wake-up calls. You've had some situations whereby your path took a different turn. And if wanted to ask, because we don't often think about soul work, spirituality, intuition as being a function of business. They're almost like 2 separate parts of our life. Go home and maybe I'll tap into that part of myself. But for you, it seems to have come together somehow. Could you talk about maybe one of those experiences that you had early in your life that sort of brought you into the path that you're currently on?
Absolutely. So I was very much an introvert and what's considered a computer geek growing up. I grew up in North Dakota. I really did not get along with my peers. Not that I was mean or anything. It's just we didn't have a lot of common ground. And so I started selling Apple II computers. That'll age me a bit. When I was in junior high. And a gentleman who owned a 3rd generational, very large family farm bought his first Apple II from me and wanted to do accounting with it. And so he knew how to do accounting. I knew how to program. And so we created a company around that. And I wrote all the software and he told me what to write. And then we were very fortunate that we sold it a couple of years later. I was just about ready to turn 18, and we sold the company for a bunch of money. And a few months later, I went into a severe depression. And nowadays, you hear stories about people that win the lottery and destroy their lives. Well, I have a particular viewpoint from mine of how I went into depression and why. And that was, after making all that money and sitting there and looking at it, I'd achieved all the goals I thought I was supposed to. We're taught in society, we're supposed to work hard, we're supposed to make a bunch of money. When we make a bunch of money, that's it. We're all successful, everything's cool. And I was left with, now what? I had no idea what my next step was, where I was going to go, or what I was going to do. And so what happened is my kind of first clawing out of that space was to come up with 3 goals that I'll never achieve, but I can always work on every single day of my life. And that's to learn, have fun, and do neither at the harm or impedance of others.
Hmm.
And with those three goals, I can, even if I'm in a bad day, I can remember, hey, why don't I go learn something? Why don't I go have some fun? Let's go do something. And so it allowed me to kind of scrabble out. And then the next part happened. I got hired at a bank down in San Diego. I was hired as a VP. And my boss was kind of told me point blank, because we were talking about different things. He said, yeah, I'm an atheist.
Hmm.
And even though I have zero problem with anybody believing whatever they want to believe, it didn't sit right for me, for him. And so I started really kind of digging into it. And I came up with 4 questions that, when asked, show that there's all the benefit is in believing we have a soul, and all the downside is in believing we don't, regardless of whether we do or don't.
And what are those 4 questions?
Okay. So the 4 questions start out with, Dean, let's just play a game here.
Okay.
Let's pretend for a minute you're a piece of clay, meaning you have no soul. And you believe you have no soul.
Hmm.
What happens?
Meaning what happens in my life?
Yeah. What happens? What do you do? What happens in your life? What are the feelings that come up for you?
For me, it comes up feeling empty and directionless. It feels anxious, like there is nothing other
What's
than myself that is creating something. I have no help. It's all on my shoulders, and that
right?
when I die, that's it. It's snuffed out.
Right. Okay. So you're a piece of clay, meaning you have no soul, but you believe you have a soul. What does that look like, and what does that feel like?
It feels like I mean, I'm extrapolating soul maybe beyond your own definition, but if I have a soul, then I also feel like I am connected to something larger than myself. And if I am, therefore, I feel a part of something greater than my own physical structure. It feels more at home. It feels more supported. It feels like I have support beyond my own intellectual and mental and physical ability to get tasks done. And I love getting stuff done, but I also realize that can be somewhat of a trap. But so it feels that I don't know, I'm part of something much larger.
More
It's
expansive.
more expansive, and it feels supported, and it feels like, hey, there's a possibility that when this particular body is done, I've rented it. It's no longer. The soul part continues on. I probably, based on this, I'm riffing a little bit, but there's a constant sense of forgetting what my soul remembers. That the next time out, whatever that might be, I'm starting over with a blank slate of memory. I no longer have the memory of the prior life experience, yet there is that internal knowledge that I just got to spend the next lifetime trying to remember what I forgot.
I have a wonderful idea for you to think about in a moment.
Please. Yes, this is good.
Okay. So, question 3.
Yes.
You are a soul light being, meaning you have a soul,
Uh-huh.
and you do not believe you have a soul. How does that feel? What does that look like?
It feels disjointed, confusing, rather dark, actually. I have a soul, but I don't believe I have a soul. It feels arrogant. It feels like I got a bunch of blind spots that I can't see. It feels,
Right. That's why I said we're going to play a game, because it may
yeah,
not be very, each one of these questions may not be real for you, but if you dive into them for a minute, the answering of the question, I'll ask a final question at the end.
yeah. No, it just it feels that I'm going to have to rely on myself, my own hubris, and it 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 feels like it could very well be depressing because it seemingly is without a sense of purpose. I'm probably, even if I believe that I did not have a soul and I actually did, I probably would be avoiding those little voices that would try to tell me that I did. And I would be confused about, what am I hearing? What am I literally dreaming at night? And it would cause some consternation of what I believe and what is so with my soul.
Absolutely. Final question. You have a soul,
Mm-hmm.
and you believe you have a soul. How does that feel and look?
Well, it gives me a chance to take a breath like I just did. It feels like joy to me. It feels lighter. It doesn't mean that my path in life is going to be always uplifting, because I believe that we are here based on what you just said, and I agree, for learning. It's like, who was it? Ram Dass said that we all want we see life as a school, but we don't always like the curriculum. There's something to be said for that. But if I feel like I have a soul, and I do, it feels expansive. It feels like there's possibility. It feels like there's the possibility for meaning and connection, and maybe even the possibility to remember that which I forgot.
Perfect. So, where's the upside and downside in all this?
Say more in terms of those 4 different questions.
Well, fundamentally, there's 2 questions, right? Do you believe you have a soul or not? And what I said at the beginning was, if you don't believe you have a soul, that's where all the downside is. And if you believe you have a soul, that's where all the upside is, regardless of whether we do or don't.
I agree. But I do go back to the comment that I made earlier, in that I can believe that I have a soul, and I can actually have a soul. And there could be a downside in that I don't know how to fully access it, or I don't know how to fully trust it, or I don't know how to remember that which I've forgotten, or there's still a lot of questions out there. Knowing that I have a soul and believing I have a soul and having one still causes some work to be done, and some questions to be answered.
And we'll dig into that. But the
Okay.
key point here is, even if we're a piece of clay and have no soul, even if we believe we have a soul, the best thing that's going to come out of it is we might do better things. But when we're done, we're done.
Right.
But still, the upside is we'll probably do better things, even if we don't. And if we do have a soul and don't believe we have a soul, then we're really going to be cutting ourselves off at the knees.
Yes.
Because we're not going to expand into what we are. And if we have a soul and believe we have a soul, we're actually going to expand into what we're supposed to be, or supposed to be doing here in essence.
Right.
So all I'm saying is, yep.
No, I was just thinking that I love the line of questions here. The part that I'm thinking, okay, if I'm a listener and I'm hearing this conversation, I would probably want to know, what are we talking about in terms of the definition of a soul? Because we have a lot of different interpretations on soul based on a religious, spiritual, or even if we're atheist, a soul has a different connotation based on the person.
So you and I think a lot alike. So after asking Kris, who was my boss's name as well, these questions, it fundamentally changed the way he was looking at things. But it left me with a big question. Great. What is a soul? What is it doing here? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What is it? And so then I drew on all my different theologies, going all the way back to Egyptians and Sanskrits and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I've studied a bunch. And what I found was, even though the semantics, the way things are said, are very different through all these different religions, there is a very solid common thread. And so what I'm going to do is, in this part of the discussion, I'm going to jump to the most read book on the planet, arguably, which is the Bible. Because it has really cool chapters and verses that summarize things in a pretty neat and orderly way. So we take a look at the Bible, and again, you can read other ones and other religions. You can go to Buddha, you can go to Egyptians, you can go all over the place. But what I found is that there's some things in the Bible that are very common throughout a lot of it, which says things like, "We are the children of God." Where Jesus tells his disciples, "You will do everything I've done and much more." Where we will inherit our God, who our God is and his abilities. Okay, well, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Well, what that tells me now, for some of your listeners, this could come with a grain of salt. But what it left me with is, all right, let's play with this for a minute. Where this omnipotent being that exists outside of space and time, that have the ability of God, what does a God do? And I could only come up with 3 things that a God does that lives outside of space and time. And that's create stuff, meaning universes, planets, whatever, destroy stuff, same kind of thing, and play games. And then the next question from that is, great, well, the first 2 are pretty self-explanatory, right? We don't have to spend a lot of time on creating stuff and destroying stuff. But what makes a game a game? Well, there's 3 fundamental things that make a game a game. There's pieces, there's turns, and there's rules. Okay, great. Let's take a look at, let's for a second just take a jump and say, okay, we're in the planet Earth game. Well, first off, what is it? Well, it's a 4th dimensional construct, meaning that time is the primary motivator. When you go below, 3 dimensions below, time doesn't exist. 5 and above, time's there, but it's no longer the primary motivator. So in a 4th dimensional construct, the game of Earth, time is the most unique element. Great.
Fair enough.
What would an omnipotent being find interesting in a 4th dimensional construct? And I could only come up with one thing. And you actually said it a while ago, but I'm going to ask you again to see if you remember.
I don't know. I mean,
well, you do, because you said it. You actually said it, but it's experience or experience emotions.
Okay. So you're saying that that's what God is here to experience through our souls, is to experience itself?
Not quite.
Okay.
Let's just take a step and say that we're each a soul godlike entity.
Yes.
And we look in and see this thing with a signpost that says Game of Earth. And if we go play, we get to experience emotion.
Yes. Whereby we don't. Yeah. I mean, so I'm going to throw something in if you don't mind, Kris.
Absolutely.
Reminds me of the series that came out recently called Pluribus.
Haven't seen that one.
It's by the same guy that wrote Better Call Saul. He also wrote this series Breaking Bad. And Pluribus is essentially a story of several, it's like 2 or 3 seasons long, whereby the human species gets contacted by an outer world species and it affects their RNA. Long story short, everybody on the planet has been altered to be happy, to be connected to the all that is, or to be connected to each other at least. There's only 11 people who are survivors who have not been affected by this external intervention. And these people now talk in the form of we versus me. It's all about us. And their job is to assimilate the other 11, and essentially the 2 who are the main characters in this. So the point that I'm getting to is that the story made me think about how if you are in this omnipresent, godlike unity of all energy and souls, you don't get the benefit of contrast. You don't get the benefit of what you might call some sort of a challenge or a negative experience. And those contrast opportunities, when met with the all that is the nexus or the connecting point by which creativity and innovation and the experience can take place. But without that contrast, assuming that you're a particle of a soul wanting to experience itself again, experience emotion, experience these things as you're talking about, we need to come into the more duller and more lower vibration bodies and to experience others in this sphere in order to experience that emotion, because contrast is that flint that creates the opportunity. So that's what made me think about what you're saying relative also to what this series is talking about.
You're spot on. Okay, so we're at the pearly gates. We're looking into the game of Earth. Well, the playing piece is a piece of us.
The playing piece?
The playing piece, like the avatar of
Yeah,
us
yeah.
in the game of Earth, is a chunk of us.
And although the chunk of us is also part of all that it is, right? So we're separate and connected at the same time.
Not separate. We just agreed to take a piece of us and move it into the game. Doesn't mean we've disconnected ourselves.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. But all right, but our conscious mind may think otherwise.
No. At this point, since we haven't discussed rules yet, we are fully.
All right, you're still going back to the game thing. Okay.
Yeah, we're still. Okay. This is the equivalent of you and I sitting down and playing a game of Monopoly.
Okay.
If we take our totalness into the game of Monopoly and I take all the money and all the playing pieces, you're not going to play Monopoly with me again because it was totally boring.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
So there's rules. And those rules are what make Monopoly fun and willing to be played. So we're at the pearly gates. We've agreed that the playing pieces are part of us, or us, that the turns are going to be lifetimes.
Okay.
And that the rules are what make it interesting.
Okay.
So what does rule 1 look like? Well, rule 1 is literally that we agree to put a piece of ourselves into this fourth dimensional construct in order to experience emotion, right? That kind of works. Because if my dog runs across the street and gets run over and I'm still connected, I go, no, I don't like that. And I change it because I'm still 100% God entity here, right? Mm-hmm. So that, even though I'll experience some, I'm not really going to get, as you said, the full gambit of emotions because I can change anything I don't like. And so hence comes rule number 2. Rule number 2 actually is directly to what you said about 8 minutes ago, which is when I'm in the game, I agree to forget about all of my abilities.
And so let's stop for a second on that. I think that's true, but it pisses me off.
But you agree to it.
I agree, but what? There's a part of me that goes, if we go down that path, that piece feels, my conscious mind feels frustrated about that possibility because I don't want to forget. That's sort of the ultimate Alzheimer's of our souls, right? We have to start over again and have to remember that which we forgot. I don't know why we need a construct or a rule that makes us forget, because it feels like, I don't know, like we're missing an opportunity for growth if we have to continue to relearn the same stuff over and over again.
Let me get to the next rules.
All right. Okay. I'm jumping ahead. Sorry, teacher.
So, well, again, I'm not trying to preach or tell you anything. This is
good. I'm just playing with you.
Some ideas that I've come up with that we can play with, right?
All right.
So rule 2, though, if we leave it at rule 2, maybe why you're frustrated, because it is an infinite trap.
Yes.
If I put my abilities to the side and come in and then agree to forget that I had them, and we leave it at those 2 rules, we've just stuck a piece of ourselves in this game forever. And I'm going to bet that as souls, we're pretty smart and aren't going to do that. Okay, so let's talk about rule 3. Rule 3 says that we're going to have turns. And the turns are, when we're looking down from the pearly gates to enter into the game as this soul being, we don't design the turns to be deterministic because that would be no fun. We have general ideas and concepts of the things that we want to learn as a soul or experience. And so we put together these kind of agreements for what a turn looks like. And if we don't accomplish it, meaning that we get tied up in the noise and illusion of life, we get to do the turn over
And
over.
Your definition of a
over.
Turn is a lifetime.
Right. And
it's a body experience. Okay.
Yeah, it's a new body experience.
Great.
And so, but the thing is that if you don't achieve what you kind of set aside as that you wanted to achieve for that turn, you get to do that turn over and over and over again. But when you do accomplish whatever it is you wanted to accomplish, you get to go to the next turn and the next turn and eventually leave the game.
Okay, so where does karma fall into this? Or does it?
Absolutely it does. Let me jump to that in a moment.
Okay, again, I'm jumping ahead. Sorry, Kris.
Okay. So we now have these turns that are designed. So why do you not? Well, let me ask you a question. A better question. Do you play tic-tac-toe?
Sometimes.
And how long do you play it?
Not very long.
How come?
I get bored.
Why?
It's repetitive. It's not challenging. It's the
easy
turn.
To figure out.
Yeah, easy to figure out.
If you
Yeah.
walk this way, you know nobody wins forever, right?
Yep. Right.
Okay. So now let's say that we're this omnipotent soul-like being, and we want to play a game to experience. Do you think you're going to pick tic-tac-toe?
No, you're going to do something more challenging.
Go.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
yep.
You're investing a chunk of yourself in order to experience, not to just put X's and O's in things. And so the game is designed, the turns are designed by the very nature of forgetting. However, there are signposts of forgetting what it is that we're supposed to accomplish, because then we get to play the game longer. But when we accomplish it, we get to move to the next turn and eventually leave the game. So we're not trapped here forever. However, we can be trapped here for a very long time if we allow the game to keep having us forget what we are.
I still don't know. I still haven't gotten the concept yet. So maybe it's just me. The need for forgetting.
If you don't forget who and what you are, anytime something happens that you don't like, you simply just change it.
Right. And doesn't that sound kind of good?
You remember that thing about contrast you were talking about?
Yeah. So you need the contrast in order to grow, in order to create.
Where's the contrast of every time something you just don't like happens, you just flipping change it?
Or you know it's coming and you don't do something that would get you back in. Okay, I get it. Okay.
Now we're back to tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
Or we're in Monopoly and I go, you know what, Dean? I decided that all that money's all mine. Sorry.
Fascinating idea. I haven't ever thought about that. That the concept of forgetting is a function of contrast, which creates the thing we're creating or the experience we're creating.
And allows us to have the full gambit of emotion, even the stuff we don't like, without the ability to just go instantly draw on our power of what we are and go, nah, I don't like that. I'm uncomfortable with that. I'm going to change that.
Yeah.
Rule 4. We agree to be 100% invested when we're playing. Meaning that we're here to experience everything fully. In other words, it's going to impact us. We're going to feel the good, the bad, the ugly. It's going to impact us in a real, visceral way. In my book, The Infinity Within, the teacher, the mentor, Elias, when Gabe, the main character, says, well, doesn't that mean that life is just a game? It's frivolous? And Elias says, well, yeah, kind of, except how serious do, say, United States football players consider their game? Or if you want to take it even a little more step bigger, have you ever been to a European soccer match?
No, but I've heard about them.
They're pretty serious. I've been to a
They're
couple in Milan, and it's a big deal. So what Elias says is, think of it as a game with teeth.
But even if your participation in the game is to be passive, to be depressed, to live off the grid.
Emotion.
I get
Passive
it.
is different than depressed.
Well, let's even say I'm passive. Forget whether I'm
Passive,
emotionally.
You can't.
That is still the experience that you are fully
Rule
involved in,
4.
which is your passivity.
Bingo.
Got it.
Bingo.
All right.
There's 4 more rules, which I'll let you read the book on, but the eighth one deals very deep about how karma operates and works and how it's actually an integral part of the game.
So this is great. I never thought that we would go down this path, so I appreciate it. How has this? How have you used this? Aside from you having a great perspective, and you got a nice book that's been selling well. You've kind of gotten. You figured out, at least from your perspective, others may agree or disagree, but you figured out the game. How has this knowledge or this awareness influenced your experience on planet Earth?
The best way I can answer that is the introduction to my book. In the introduction, I name 4 people. 2 from our past, 2 from our present. The 4th one, my mom actually got very angry when she read the book and said, "Why the heck did you include them?" So the reason I included them in the introduction, is to give people a viewpoint of how this type of construct may actually be able to really help people. So the first one in the introduction is very obvious, and that's Jesus Christ. And if you look at all the things he did and the stories told and all the stuff that happened, he was a person, based on what the Bible and everything tells us, that when he chose to do something, it wasn't next week, it wasn't next month, it happened right now. And it happened the way he wanted it. So people got instantly healed, waves instantly parted. I mean, those kinds of things. The second one is the Buddha, who arguably is a very powerful presence in mindset and being in the presence or present. The third one is a gentleman that went through, by his own words, an extremely difficult past, all the way up to the point where he wrote and started writing his books. And that's Eckhart Tolle or Tolle. And
Power of Now.
And some phenomenal work in presence and how to look at things and how the mind and the presence of the mind shapes reality. The 4th one is Elon Musk.
And this is where your mom got upset?
Why did you include him? And so, I would bet you money if you and I sat down with Elon and said, "Are you a spiritual leader?" that he would say, no, I'm not. But look at what the man has done when he's removed fear and doubt from his equation. He has a car company that everybody said will fail, and quite frankly, DeLorean tried to do it and failed miserably, and now Tesla is arguably the largest car manufacturer on the planet. He was told it is absolutely impossible to land rockets and reuse them. NASA's spent billions of dollars. Every country's tried it. You can't do it. And yet in a few years, he's not only reusing rockets, but he's made it a daily occurrence. It's impossible to run multiple million-dollar companies and be successful at any of them. Yeah, he's done that too. So what I'm trying to say is that when we start remembering that we are connected beings, that we're co-creators in this game, we agreed to forget all of it's there, but we left ourselves signposts, and there are teachers along the way that show us that we can get slowly connected a piece at a time and start drawing on this power in a very real way. Elon is a perfect example of somebody that has drawn on this power in a very real way, in a monies and dollars sense, but he has a very strong vision of making us a multi-planet species. So he has, a particular, call it a spiritual goal or a humanity goal that's very big. So what I'm trying to say is that if you listen to those rules and invert them, what it says is every one of us is a co-creator in this game. We are all co-connected. We are all connected 24/7. We've agreed to forget all of our abilities so that we can actually play and experience the game. But as you've alluded to, a spirit still might want to cheat a little bit and put some cheat codes in along the way to either have some fun or do something a little bit bigger or experience something different or whatever it is. And we are taught from a very young age that those cheat codes aren't real.
Are you suggesting that these 4 people you mentioned have been able to revisit, find, use those cheat codes?
Exactly right. In fact, not only those 4, but many of them.
Many others more.
I mean, what's that guy's name? Hoff, who can go in freezing water for like 2 hours and his body temperature is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Now, why do I think this is real? I'll dive into my near-death experience for a second. At age 15, we're allowed in North Dakota to drive cars younger because of ranching and farming. So I started driving when I was 14. My mom and dad gave me a Mach 2 Mustang. And within the first month, I had 6 accidents. The first one was, it's snowy and icy there in North Dakota. So yeah, you get that. The first accident was I slowly slid into an RV and I bumped it. And I freaked out. It was my first accident ever. So I went and rang the doorbell and told them. They came out and looked at their RV, looked at my car and laughed at me. They said, there's not a scratch on your car nor RV. Why are you bothering us? Okay. Second one was a little bit bigger, third, fourth. The 6th one, an old lady in a giant Cadillac runs a stop sign, T-bars the car and moves the passenger door almost to the middle of the car. Not a scratch on either of us. My dad opts to have the car repaired. So it goes in the repair shop for 2 or 3 weeks. And the night I get it back, I was working at Team selling those Apple II computers. I'm driving it home, and I lived out of town on an old highway, which is a skinny little 2-lane road that has these drop-offs, and there's snow and ice, and I'm a crazy teenager, so I'm driving way faster than I should have been anyway. But coming on directly on me is a black pickup truck, and he's swerving all over the road. It's a drunk driver coming straight at me. So I swerve off the road just enough that he misses me by a couple of inches. But now I have a new problem. The snow and the slope is sucking my car off the road towards the concrete pylon of a bridge. All of a sudden, huge surge of light, flash of light, surge of energy. The car shifts 90 degrees. I shear 6 trees off. I'm 3 feet off the ground, the car is. The steering wheel has punctured the driver's seat. I'm hanging upside down from the steering wheel that is through the seat I was just sitting in. The engine is partially torn out of the car, and I don't have a scratch on me. Not even a bruise. So I crawl out under the car through the passenger window. I go up on the highway, and there's a 1-inch lump of snow where the tire shifted, the whole car shifted going this way, 90 degrees this way. Now you tell me how that happened.
So that was one of your other examples of, hey, maybe I have a soul?
There's a lot more going on than we're told. And that we're told to believe. And not only that, I mean, you weren't there, so you know everything you hear me say is you sprinkle salt on it, right? Because it's like, yeah, Kris could be imagining the whole thing.
Well, no, I take it at face value, yeah.
Yeah. But there's many people that are going to come up with reasons why that's not real.
Right.
And that's because as children, how many stories have you heard of children seeing ghosts?
Well, that's a whole nother story. But yes, I've heard stories like that. I've got family members who have. We could go way down a woo woo track on that one for sure. Yeah,
Well, but we'll just take a short
yeah.
version. What's the first thing that typical parents do when their child says they see ghosts or something
Well,
that's unnatural?
basically, they placate them and tell them that it's all in your head. Grab some hot cocoa, go back to sleep. It's not real. And I do think the veil with children when they're young is very thin, and they see things that us adults don't see
We're told don't
anymore.
exist.
Don't exist. And yeah, we've got some family members and kids who are seeing all sorts of stuff right now, and adults are just flabbergasted. But I don't dispute that
And
that's
they don't,
happening.
and the parents don't say these things to be mean or
No,
harmful.
no, they're trying
They're
to take away
saying
the
them
pain.
to calm them down because
Yeah,
that's what they were taught.
yeah, yeah,
The problem
totally.
is that what we do is, as a child, we're now learning that what I would argue is really going on, we're being told is imaginary, and what we're told is real is actually imaginary.
Well, and then if you get into the physics of this and you get into what reality really is, and you can even get into the subparticles and it's all energy, and you can start I mean, my favorite movie probably of my adult life was The Matrix, and it's all based on this idea that what we think is real is not real. And do we really want to choose reality, or do we just want to sit down and be a famous actor and eat a steak and have a glass of wine? Put me back in, right? The blue pill, red pill, all that deal. There's a lot that feels right about that, and there's so much right now in our society and the world. I mean, gosh, Kris, we could go on and on and on about this, but so much of what we are now learning is revealing what we thought was true. My childhood, the things that I thought were true, as an adult, I'm now realizing based on where we are as a society, it's like going, that was never true. One more investigation, one more this. It's not really that we thought it was. You know what? Here's what I'm gonna need to. We should do a second podcast because I would really would love to keep this up because I have to actually hop off here in a couple of minutes. But how can how can people follow you? I know you got a book. Talk about that a little bit. Talk about how people can get connected to you.
Absolutely. So I've been very, very blessed. So the easy answer is krisland.com, KRISLAD.com gets to me.
Yep.
However, the reason I'm blessed is if you type in Kris Land or the Infinity Within on Google, I take over the first 3 pages. So you can't not find me if you have my name or the Infinity Within. My book is being sold across Amazon, Apple, Barnes and Noble. Of all places you can go to Walmart and get it. It's also being sold in bookstores all over the world. So I talked recently with a bookstore in Norway that's selling it, one in Barcelona, a couple in Australia. It has been picked up by bookstores all over the world. As of 3 days ago, I'd won 7 gold awards, book awards for the book. Yesterday, I got 2 more, so I'm now at 9. And
Congratulations.
one of them is, well, the one that's really exciting, I mean, they're all exciting, don't get me wrong. Every one of them has been fantastic. In fact, Author Shout gave me the editor's choice ahead of 700 other books. But I just got a notice today that the Eric Hoffer Award, which is a fairly big indie book award, has also, I'm not only nominated for that, but they've also put me in as a finalist out of 7 books for my book cover. It's called The Da Vinci Eye. So it's been received in the marketplace very well. But more importantly, it was funny. I was listening to a different podcast, and I can't remember the name of the book, but there's an older guy, and he wrote a book about dinosaurs or something. It's called I wish I could remember the name. Anyway, it's a book that made the New York bestsellers. He sold millions and millions and millions of copies. It's done extremely well. And he was asked in the interview, what's the most important thing out of the success of your book? And he said, selling multiple copies and all that's been great, but what really made it worth everything to me is I was at a book signing and everybody brought their books to sign, and there was this 18-year-old boy that was just standing there waiting. He didn't even have a book to sign. And he got done and and he said, well, come on up. And so the boy came up and he says, he asked, what are you doing? Can I sign a book for you? Can I help you? And the boy says, "You already have. I chose to stay." He says, "Stay here at the book signing?" He said, "No.
Stay here.
Stay here."
Here.
He said, "Your book fundamentally changed and brought me out of a place where I was thinking about leaving permanently." And he said, that one 18-year-old, if just that was the one thing that happened, was the reason I wrote the book. And
It reminds me of the movie, The Shawshank Redemption, I think, was one of the greatest lines in that movie was, well, we got to hurry up and get on living or hurry up and get on dying. It was some version of that. I thought, great perspective. Kris, thank you so much for your insights and your time on this. And I got to bring you back. We have so much more to talk about. This has been really good.
I love it, Dean.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to LEADOVATION with Dean Newland. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your